All right, welcome everyone to the vaccine equity call, the last, and we are just going to share stories today. We've done a lot, and we'll send the emails of all our impact because we have it due to our funders in a couple of weeks. And the numbers really don't mean much outside of the people that were impacted. So a few of you I know have some stories ready. If anybody wants to add after we share some of ours, please do so. But before we do the stories, just quick reminders. If you have any missing weekly reports, please do get them in. Jamal's been reaching out. We have all the data we need for our final reporting, so we're good there. If there is a quick clarification, you might get an email from me or Melody. Please respond as quickly as possible. And then finally, in early August, Jamal will send you all your individual metrics. So with that now out of the way, let's get into some of the stories of the people. Our own personal stories sometimes organizations that we served. Can you guys see the screen called Stories of Impact? Posey, you want to kick us off?
Yes.
Sure. Why don't you go to my pretty picture? This is at the beginning of the pandemic. They were still small, but they're 13 now. They're even taller than me. The one in the middle, Jonathan, actually had a reaction to the vaccine. So we actually had to rush him to the ER, and turned out it was all right. But thank you to everybody in the community for wearing masks. He's not eligible for the next shot of vaccines, to help protect him. And thank you. And they're both healthy and they've grown up, and I get hugs from them every day still, even though they're teenagers.
On my quick personal story, my daughter does refuse to hug me. About a week after our last call, when we talked about the 0 to 5s finally be able to get their shot, I made this little quick video of Bay, who's now 3, getting her first. This is the first time after many shots that she never cried. And that to me was just kind of significant on a couple of levels when your child finally sees that, these aren't things that are bad. She wasn't nervous like before. And the fact that she was smiling, she doesn't obviously know what this is. Even her sister at 5 years old is like, oh, it's the sick bug, and Bay's going to get the shot against the sick bug. But it was personally meaningful for me a lot too, that, hey, no tears, which will make the next shot of 3 for younger children even easier. Who's got this guy? You think Chance here or Panita?
Oh yes, that's a photo from one of our vaccination clinics. As folks know, we still have ongoing standing clinics at our farmers market twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. This one actually was at our mobile clinic at the Thai temple, and the individual pictured is one of our clients from a huge labor trafficking case involving 1,100 Thai farm workers who had been trafficked into the U.S. and placed across the U.S. on various farms and held in forced labor. And he was one of the escapees. And and since the case, of course, they've gotten lots of redress and restitution and what have you. But in any case, it's just an example of kind of the vulnerable populations that we work with in the Thai community. The most disadvantaged, downtrodden, destitute, and dispossessed. And so he, yes, is one of those individuals, and he was able to access the vaccination because we made it available. We are in the community. We went into the community, and we navigate them through the vaccination. And you can see that he is just, jumping with joy. I mean, not literally jumping, but he's seating. He's seated, and he is just really happy that he got his vaccination because he's still a laborer, and so he's going to be exposed. So yeah, I just thought this was great to show how ecstatic and happy he is to get his vaccination.
Thank you, Chancey. And yeah, the picture says 1,000 words. Vendaya, this is from ImmSchools on a toy drive they did around the holiday period in Dallas.
Yes, of course. Can you hear me? My audio was having okay, awesome. Yes, so I'll be sharing a story that we typically write to our funders, so I'll just be reading this off. Mrs. Gonzalez, and so this is from our toy drive. Mrs. Gonzalez immigrated 17 years ago from Guadalajara, Mexico, and has been a resident of Dallas ever since then. As a mother of 4, Mrs. Gonzalez has always worked hard to provide for her family. On October 2019, Mrs. Gonzalez and her family suffered a tremendous emotional and economic hardship when her husband was detained from ICE. So ever since then, she has been forced to work jobs such as making tamales, cleaning houses, or cutting hair to cope with the loss of her husband's stable income source. And this pandemic has also made it immensely difficult for Mrs. Gonzalez to work and still remain socially distant and safe with her family. Recently, so months and months ago recently, she had tested positive for COVID, and due to this, it really, impaired her ability to continue working, which was a big strain on her family, as we all know. And so as the holiday season approached, previous to that, our team was able to financially support Mrs. Gonzalez through one of our family funds and provide financial assistance, which really supported with groceries and basic necessities. But then, kind of always highlighting the joy of our communities here when they were able, and I don't believe Mrs. Gonzalez's family is presented in these pictures. However, Mrs. Gonzalez, her family, as well as a bunch of our other family members were able to participate in this really awesome toy drive back in, holiday season. And here we were able to continue the providing of financial assistance. We had a vaccination clinic from one of our partners that was hosting it. And so and pediatric vaccinations as well, since that was kind of the timeline. At that point, we had also, it was just, an awesome way in which we're, always addressing the challenges of our families, but highlighting and amplifying undocumented and immigrant joy. And here you guys can, see in these pictures, we have we have the Grinch in the top left corner. We had a lot of mini Santa Clauses. So in the bottom left, we have one of the Santa Clauses, and a lot of the kids were also able to receive toys. And specifically the Gonzalez family, their young children of 6 and 13 years of age were able to receive the toys from our city council member in Dallas, as well as be nominated for Services of Hope, Adopt a Family program, as well as Operation Pitter Patter. So overall, it was really awesome to kind of see the trajectory of our family and have them continuously engage with us and, hear all of the different collective knowledge that we have in our coalition meetings. So this is one that we wanted to highlight.
Thank you, Vendaya. And again, it really shows also that being able to vaccinate people, reaching where they are on site at the school premises. And I also wanted to call out the note of safety on the Santa Claus. As you can see, he's wearing a mask behind his beard, if you look closely at that photo. So kudos to Santa for masking up as well. And thank you for sharing the story. Bree, this is from East Bay Sanctuary Covenant.
Yeah, hello. This was from our health fair in September of last year, which was, as far as I'm aware, our first that we have held on site right next to the office, just there in the parking lot. And it was really a collaboration with a lot of other orgs, and especially La Clínica de la Raza, which is a local health organization, and they've really helped us to actually administer the vaccines, because us being a legal services org, it's not, in our direct capacity, but they're really amazing. And we had a lot of community members come out, just a range of people. So this was just one of the families. And the way we approached this event was to sort of not be a in your face, get the vaccine, because a lot of our community is, pretty hesitant and has doubts, not even just from a health perspective, but logistically, like how can I miss work, or how do I even access this? Just not having that knowledge. And so we want to be that bridge. And the reps from La Clinica were really good at just listening to people and talking to them. It just felt pretty organic. Like there were other resources that people went for, like housing and health insurance sort of things. But you know, we also had vaccines on site, so that was a huge plus. And this family, the mom was hesitant. I don't know her specific reasons, but our reps from La Clinica talked to them, and she was able to get vaccinated. So, you know, it's one success, and hopefully we can have more of these. There's been, you know, some challenges, and we're really relying on La Clinica and popping up at like their events, but it's really good to host our own and to show like, yeah, EBSC cares about this, and to have people actually come to us was really nice. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bree. This is the end of the stories that we had in terms of like people that wanted to submit in advance, but if you wanted to share one, please do so. And one thing I'm just going to comment on really quickly with Bree said is like, that was one story of success, or my daughter, Posey's kids, Mrs. Gonzalez in Dallas. It amounted up to a lot. And again, we'll share those numbers because we reached over 800,000 people. But each of those individual stories really kind of helps bring it to light. Like the facts and the figures are meaningless without the human lives and the spirits that were changed behind them. On that note, does anyone else want to share a story that they encountered that they thought would be just helpful or inspiring?
Yeah, I can share a quick story. So at Freedom for Immigrants, we've been providing information to immigrants in detention across the US about the vaccines. And I mean, it varies obviously from facility to facility. And through our hotline, a woman contacted us who was detained in Louisiana and sort of shared her hesitancy, but also shared her story that she'd been separated from her 7-year-old for the past year. They were crossing the border and she was picked up by ICE. And so she hadn't seen her daughter in over a year at that point. But we also talked to her about the importance of the vaccine and how to keep her and her daughter safe. We managed to bond her out of detention, and her daughter was able to reunite with her that same evening. And the very next day, our volunteers took them to a vaccine clinic and got them vaccinated together. So it was pretty special to like have that reuniting and to, yeah, just see the bond those two immediately had, and just the importance of, you know, keeping them safe as well. So it was, yeah, we were all really excited by the ability to sort of share the information with these two.
Thank you, Sierra. Anyone else?
I can also go ahead and share. Yeah. Hey, everyone. Good morning. This is Edwin, he, him, El with CCIJ. And similarly to our partners at FFI, CCIJ has the Vaccine Education and Empowerment in Detention program, or also known as VED, that we operate at Yuba County Jail, Mesa Verde, the ICE Processing Center, the Golden State Annex, and Imperial Regional Detention Facility. And so we partner folks in detention with medical providers, in this case, physicians, nurse practitioners, PAs, and you know, provide them with support with respect to the vaccine and you know, culturally and linguistically competent info on the vaccine. I wanted to share a story about who is now CCIJ's client, Pedro. You know, Pedro was transferred from CDCR custody, which is the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, to immigration detention, where he, you know, in CDCR custody, he participated in a very rigorous program called Fire Camp. And in fact, Pedro was a firefighter who was fighting those dangerous August complex fire in 2020 here in California. I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, wildfire in the state. And Pedro was involved in that. And once he was eligible to be released, he was transferred then to immigration detention. And that was what we were seeing with with individuals who've been transferred, which is the majority of folks in the state. They were receiving 1 dose of an mRNA booster, and then in the middle of being eligible for their 2nd dose, they were transferred. So there was a lot of administrative errors in the way that these facilities keep records of vaccinations. And Pedro was someone who had come to us through our legal clinic, and that's where we talked to him about VEED, and he was really interested to talk to a medical provider, given that these facilities are known for their horrific medical care, if any care at all. And so he wanted to talk to a medical provider, and he did. And there's a lot of back and forth in getting his booster, and I think it dawned on him at that point to say, wow, if I'm going through so much back and forth with the facility to get a vaccine for myself and also education that I want and need, I can only imagine what would happen to people who are monolingual and can't speak English or are not bilingual, right? And so this made Pedro become more involved in VEED and connecting monolingual speakers in detention to the VEED program, and making sure that we were building trust with people. I think that was the biggest thing that we found out through VEED, was the amount of trust that you build is like, there's no price for that. There's really just a genuine connection. And long story short, he was featured in this Kaiser Health Network article that talks a little bit about VEED. And, there's a lot of really important details about his case in there, but it was, I thought that was really moving, that even in a place that's so dangerous and dark, that that community can be built in these facilities. So I really admire Pedro, and we're really happy to be representing him at this point.
Thank you, Edwin. Anyone else? Thank you for everyone, just not for like Brenda, please go ahead.
Thank you, and greetings here from Humboldt County, Northern California. The quick and brief story was important and meaningful for us of Adan. Adan is our master cultivator for the community garden. He's an immigrant from Puebla, Mexico, and he was very hesitant about taking the vaccine because of his religion and beliefs. And slowly he was just listening to the assemblies that we have in the community garden, and he received information. And after some months, he came to us and said, I understand, because he was the guide in the garden, that he needed to be protected in order to guide the visitors. So he started asking more and more. At some point, he got vaccinated, and then he helped us out to spread flyers in his workplace. That was one of the main focuses for COVID contagion in one main city of Humboldt County. I think he is the first one that helped us to understand one of the most strong obstacles for the campaign, that was religion and beliefs, personal beliefs. And with a lot of love, he just talked with his community, and still it's a working process, but he make us think that just approach and we'll be there waiting for this process to happen.
Thank you for sharing, Brenda. You just muted there right at the end. I don't know if you had anything else, but thank you for sharing the story of not only how sometimes you can impact one person, but then that gift pays it forward when they have the ability at their workplace to be able to continue. And the impact that's almost impossible to track, of when you give the gift of a vaccination to somebody and to be able to protect their lives, and then they pay it forward, who knows how many more people they'll convince. And then hopefully we reach this goal here, herd immunity. Any other stories or any just stray thoughts?
Do we have room for one more quick story?
Yes, please.
from someone who already gave the story. Okay, so in the community we serve, in the neighborhood we serve, we have predominantly Latinx, Armenian, and Thais. And so when we've done outreach to the Armenian community, we found a lot of vaccine hesitancy. And so my staff, our outreach staff and community health workers, they managed to help some of the Armenian members of our community overcome that hesitancy. And they did it in a kind of creative way by going to their businesses, patronizing their businesses, and just hanging out there and developing a relationship and becoming like, you know, friends with the business owners and the patrons of the business, and then they start breaking the ice and saying, oh, you know, we'd love to have you come by our farmers market, and while you're at it, you could also come and get a, you know, a vaccination, and et cetera, et cetera. So after a while, I guess they developed this kind of relationship, and so the Armenian business owner became fond of our staff, and then you know, there's this kind of trust, and so he's like, okay, I'm gonna go and check it out, and then finally he got vaccinated. It was easy peasy, and he's like, oh, that was simple, didn't hurt, and then he went back and told his wife, and then told his family, and then told the rest of his family, extended family, and then they all started coming out. So I mean that was really great that our community health workers, you know, invested that time and spent that time just hanging out at the pastry shop. Specifically, that was the kind of business it was, and then buying pastry from them, and then yeah, developing a rapport and that kind of trust that then they came out and then they brought more people. So we love that story.
Yeah, equally, there's something I just wrote down that I'm going to think about is I've just heard a lot of these in these stories, which is a great way to start this day, by the way, because it really grounds you in a lot of the why of our work, is leading with people and relationships and not the action. Usually if you lead with the action of get vaccinated, it's not going to result with much. But if you lead with people and the relationships that build trust, and then offer suggestions or opportunities or other ways of thinking, you can get a lot further. So thank you for sharing that story. That's a thought I wrote down just to take with me later. Any other stray observations? We are close to time, but we have time for one more if somebody offers as a thought. Thank you, everyone, for this. You took a lot of trust in us as Mobile Pathways when we first, a year or more ago, decided to apply for the Twilio funding that got us started. That was a lot of trust in us, and we were so thrilled when we got it, and then continued on to grow with PagerDuty and California Wellness Foundation. Thank you for all of this. I've been addicted to the dashboard, but these stories meant just so much more than any of the numbers can convey. On the note of those numbers, Jamal will be sending you in early August all your numbers if you want to use them for your additional fundraising. I know a few organizations have received additional funding for their vaccine efforts. We don't know what's going to happen come fall or winter. Right now, we're in a nice summer period where more people outside, less contraction, less, at least data about contractions, but we'll see where this goes. But thank you for all of your parts. This was one of the most significant events of our lifetimes, and I'm just glad that I was able to help in some way alongside all of you.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to everyone at Mobile Pathways. You guys have been tremendous partners in all of this and have been so incredibly organized and leading all these calls. I know that takes a lot of time and energy and effort on your part. So thank you for bringing us all together this past year and being such diligent partners. And we've, collectively achieved a lot of impact. So I just appreciate everyone here.
And I ditto what she said, every word of that, because a Mobile Pathway really provided that kind of support, and it was great to know that we were collectively, mobilized to get our community to better health and to really provide that kind of health access and equity. And so this was, yeah, just phenomenal, what the support that we got here from Mobile Pathways. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Also, thank you, because from isolated regions like the North Coast, it feels better to have a group. It feels better to have these spaces. Feels better to have this effort. So thank you so very much. And we are happy to contribute to this process of healing. Thank you.
Great to see all your faces. Look forward to working with you guys again soon.
Likewise. Hopefully it won't take another pandemic to unite us. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye
Bye.
now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.